This is a fierce type of piranha. Its teeth are extremely sharp and unusually tough. It can rip a person apart in a moment. Biologist Carl removed a fossil sample. He clarified that this being had disappeared over 10,000 years ago. But why would such a fierce type of piranha show up in this calm town? A few weeks back, an elderly man tossed an empty bottle into the lake while fishing. This triggered a small earthquake in the region. A large fissure, roughly 10 meters long, appeared at the bottom of the lake. Thousands of piranhas swam up in the crack. A large whirlpool appeared on the lake's surface due to the crack. The elderly man swiftly began his boat, attempting to flee, but the current was too powerful, and he unintentionally tumbled into the lake. In a moment, the piranhas gathered around him. In a short time, the elderly man displayed no signs of life. After getting the report, the police hurried to the location right away. Following a careful search, they found the elderly man's boat. Sheriff Julie extended her hand, attempting to draw the boat back. But she lost her footing and tumbled into the water. Officer Sam swiftly went to bring her back to the shore. At that moment, a body unexpectedly emerged from below the surface. It was the elderly man's body. However, it had been chewed beyond recognition. The two officers decided that something frightening must be hiding in the lake. The following day, Peter and Julie took gear to the lake to look into the matter. With a sonar device, they found the crack that had developed because of the earthquake. After verifying the precise spot, two researchers donned diving gear and jumped into the water to investigate. Before long, they discovered a small gap and chose to swim in. There, they observed numerous transparent, rod-like items. Unknown to them, these were actually piranha embryos. Just as one of the men was about to extend his hand and touch them, something unexpectedly bit him. Vivid red blood quickly spread through the water. A strong feeling of discomfort swept through him. When he switched on his flashlight, he was shocked to see a group of piranhas. Before the man could even understand what was going on, the piranhas began a wild assault. In the meantime, his teammate, noticing that something was off, attempted to go in and see how he was doing. Unbeknownst to her, she had also turned into the piranha's next target. Upon hearing the distress signal, another teammate swiftly put on diving gear. He quickly leaped into the water to save the fallen team members, and he successfully pulled one of them back onto the boat. All that remained was a skeleton. Next to the remains, a still-moving piranha was discovered. Resolute to discover the source of these piranhas, Sheriff Julie took the creature to Biologist Carl. From Carl, they discovered just how frightening these piranhas really were. Because of staying in darkness for such a long time, their sight had greatly deteriorated. However, their hearing and sense of smell had become remarkably improved. At the same moment, they had become even more ruthless and savage. It was nearly unbelievable what sort of disaster such a huge number of them could create in a contemporary lake. Upon hearing this, Julie quickly understood the seriousness of the situation. Today, the village was holding its yearly water festival. She swiftly guided her team to the location. Upon their arrival, they discovered the place already filled with numerous visitors. The officers quickly started clearing the area. They yelled for the celebration to finish and for everyone to step back from the water. Yet, the sound at the location was so intense, nobody could hear their alerts. Annoyed, Sam had no option but to shoot a warning shot. He gestured for everyone to exit the water right away, but what they didn't foresee was that their good-intentioned alert had the reverse outcome. It just made the visitors more anxious. They disregarded the suggestion and leaped into the water. Some even turned up the music to the highest volume. Julie took the loudspeaker and attempted to talk to them, but the intense noise had already drawn in the piranhas. Confronted with this scenario, the officers were confused. They could only do their best to perform rescues, but at that moment, the stage couldn't bear the weight. It leaned and plunged directly into the water. In a rush, Peter swiftly hopped onto a speedboat. He took a shotgun and began firing at the piranhas. Sam, in an attempt to shield the tourists as they approached the shore, quickly removed the propeller but confronted the unyielding surge of piranhas. Sam couldn't hang on for much longer and was soon overpowered. When all was finally calm, the atmosphere at the party was dreadful. The visitors were either deceased or hurt, with detached limbs and arms spread all around. Julie was caring for the injuries of the hurt. When she unexpectedly got a phone call from her son, Jake, he mentioned that they too were under attack by piranhas. Upon learning that her 3 kids were in peril, Julie instantly freaked out. She hurried over with Peter. It appeared that just a short while ago, Jake had brought his younger brother and sister along, and they were out on a boat with their friends, having fun at the lake. But they unintentionally collided with a rock under the water. 2 of them dropped into the water. A group of piranhas swiftly encircled them. In a moment, the woman was consumed. The man, frightened, swiftly emerged. He urgently swam toward the boat. The lady on the boat, gripping a paddle, was ready to assist. But before she could, the man was assaulted by the piranhas. Even though he was dragged back onto the boat, his whole lower body was a twisted wreck of flesh and bone. Shortly after, he gave in to blood loss and passed away. What made matters even worse was that Kelly was stuck in the cabin. As the water level continued to rise, a significant number of piranhas entered the cabin. Kelly could only stand on elevated ground, calling out urgently for assistance to Jake outside. Jake attempted to open the skylight, but he soon discovered it was entirely jammed. On the opposite side, Julie and Peter had come, concerned about striking the rocks. She was only able to halt the boat a brief distance away. Then she tossed over a rope. After Jake secured the other end of the rope, he ascended the yacht with it. Upon discovering that there was still someone stuck in the cabin, Julie started to think about how to save them. But even she was unable to open the stuck skylight. The sole entry point was entirely covered in water. Inside, the cabin was packed with fierce piranhas. Powerless, Julie had no option but to first lead the woman and 2 kids to a secure boat. Then she would determine how to save Kelly. The water was full of piranhas. One incorrect step, and there would be nothing remaining of them. However, they made a critical error. They ought to have avoided having all 4 of them climb over simultaneously. As anticipated, midway through, the rope was already dipping perilously near the water's surface. The lady at the front was quickly assaulted by the piranhas. In a rush, she started to fight fiercely. Before long, her energy ran out, and she plunged into the water, where the piranhas viciously ripped her apart. The others, seeing this terrifying sight, hurried to ascend quicker to the other side. The 2 kids got onto the boat safely, but at that moment the handrail unexpectedly snapped off. Luckily, Peter pressed the accelerator and successfully saved Julie. Julie returned safely to the boat. Yet, on the opposite side, the water had already reached Kelly's feet. The piranhas began to move. Kelly could just use a frying pan to fend them off. Noticing his girlfriend Kelly in serious danger, Jake didn't go over to join his mother Julie. Instead, he loosened the rope and secured it around himself. He devised a strategy to save Kelly. The plan was to utilize the bodies of their fallen friends to divert the piranhas. When Jake threw a body into the water, the piranhas in the cabin quickly rushed toward it, seizing the opportunity of the distraction. Jake softly leaped into the water from the edge. Jake swiftly jumped under the boat and into the cabin, after successfully coming back together with Kelly. Jake swiftly reached out to his mother through the radio. He told them to get the boat ready to pull the 2 of them out. After talking, Jake discovered a glowing stick. He then jumped back into the water, opening 2 gas containers. He planned to explode the piranhas after they departed. After everything was arranged, Jake phoned his mother. 10 seconds later, they took off quickly. They both then jumped back into the water. However, they were unaware that an incident was occurring outside. At that time, the speedboat wouldn't start. At the same time, Jake had already ignited the burning stick and tossed it into the cabin to worsen the situation. The piranhas had completed consuming the remains of their fellow fish. The huge blast took the lives of many piranhas. Jake and Kelly were safely saved, but just as everyone was rejoicing in their survival, Julie unexpectedly got a call from Carl. Carl stated that they could be dealing with a major issue. The piranha they returned didn't possess fully formed reproductive organs, and the piranhas that assaulted them were merely a bunch of young juveniles. After hearing this, Peter appeared puzzled.